Rule number 69. When one has ENTP hair, one must make an ENTP video. The unifiers. You don't get unity by ignoring the questions that have to be faced. ENTPs have the reputation of being instigators, and that's certainly warranted much of the time. However, this misses an important feature of ENTPs. That is their desire for harmony and even community. For every immature ENTP you'll encounter who will incessantly prod and poke, there will also be an ENTP who will happily bite their tongue, even when they have a brutal discussion or debate-ending one-liner that they could drop on you if they wanted. There's a lot of debate about how personality types actually develop, and the extent to which you can improve on weaker traits and functions. ENTPs have FE as their third slot function, so it's something that they will value to begin with. If an ENTP were to grow up in an environment that rewarded the use of that function, if they had situations where they could see the benefit of it, then it's entirely possible that you would have an ENTP that very early on in their life is already excellent at fostering harmony, cultivating a community spirit, and building bridges between people. It's a more mature and well-developed ENTP who has integrated that FE and gives it more weight and value. If you are wondering exactly how an ENTP might bring people together and unify them, let me try to paint a picture for you with the following ideas. Deal-making, win-wins, and negotiations. A lot of you might have heard of Chris Voss, someone who was a hostage negotiator, I believe, among other things. I'm going to read a few quotes from him, and I want you to picture an ENTP, a mature one, and how they might be good at these things. He who has learned to disagree without being disagreeable has discovered the most valuable secret of negotiation. This would be an ENTP who uses their lightning-quick TI logic and any alternative perspective finding to show other people possibilities in a gentle way, guiding people through newly opened doors instead of pointing out how people might be wrong. The substance is still there, but the tone and the vibe have been adjusted to make it more palatable to the party receiving it. Conflict brings out truth, creativity, and resolution. This describes an ENTP who is determined to stay around after the conflict and move towards some kind of conclusion and resolution, a course of action, as opposed to simply engaging in arguments for the mental sparring and sport of it. It's getting down to details and implementation, rather than just staying in the realm of ideational conflict. The beauty of empathy is that it doesn't demand that you agree with the other person's ideas. Again, what is being described here as empathy is actually something that ENTPs do or get to via a slightly more unusual route. Because they're naturally not bothered by other people's views, even if they disagree with them, they basically don't judge them. So by definition, ENTPs are extremely well suited to being highly empathetic or empathic. And if it's something they choose to lean into, they can become masters at using that to help people. So this notion of a brilliant negotiator, and therefore peacemaker too, matches up kind of amazingly with the archetype of a mature and well-developed ENTP, should they wish to go down that path. Open-minded, able to entertain ideas that they might disagree with, powerful problem-solving skills, the ability to creatively unstick themselves, and also willing to use their FE in a more conscious and intentional way. I think that many ENTPs will actually resonate with this way of being kind of naturally, and others will eventually come to see it as some kind of aspirational role. Discipline and conscientiousness. ENTPs are often described as chaos monkeys by people like, well, me. But when you see an ENTP who is engaged in what they're doing, you will suddenly see a side to them that is much more akin to an ENTJ or an ESTJ. Someone who is organized, structured, disciplined, driven, and focused. You will often see them come alive in this way when they're in jobs and careers that encompass a lot of variety. That way, they are not going to look elsewhere in order to feel like their eclectic nature is being satisfied. That desire for the new and the novel is never really going to go away, but if they can orient themselves towards fields that encourage that, then they'll be happy to focus more in that area. For example, any job that allows them to meet a wide variety of people will often be appealing. Similarly, anything that enables or requires them to constantly be updating their skills will be appealing too. The NE wants new and exciting. Their SI wants stability, structure, and familiarity. NE is valued and SI is devalued most of the time. However, if they can somehow merge those two things, for example, having an overall structure, such as in a job, that still includes discovery and exploration and even experimentation, that's going to be deeply satisfying for them. So I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's the fault of the conventional workplace and its usual lack of variety, because ENTPs are very much on the extreme end of the spectrum. Also, we need specialists in the world, people whose focus is narrow and specific. Nonetheless, it is very difficult for ENTPs to ever feel like they want to put down firm roots and commit to something, not because of an inherent aversion to commitment, necessarily, but simply because they don't see the thing they're committing to, or even the person they're committing to, as having enough potential for variety. So an ENTP can be ultra-organized, disciplined, focused, conscientious, and so on, when they have more of a guarantee that their any will be satisfied.